What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I took a preaching class this past semester in seminary, and I was given the opportunity to preach right around Christmas time on John 1:1 through 16. We were given the assignment to prepare a sermonette about 8 to 10 minutes long on this passage. I was able to record it when I delivered it to my classmates. I hope that you will be encouraged and lifted up through hearing this message. I've entitled it Recovering the Wonder of Christmas.
What makes Christmas magical? What fills this holiday season with a sense of wonder and awe? Ask this question, there are some common answers. For some, what fills them with awe is driving around at night with loved ones, looking at light displays that neighborhoods have put up for people to experience. For some, it's the promise of the holiday Christmas party, or even the yearly bonus at work. For some, it's the general positive effect that the Christmas season seems to have on people, making them more kind and generous, even if only for a few short weeks. For me, the magic of Christmas, the wonder of Christmas, comes in that presents seem to magically and mysteriously appear under the tree on Christmas morning. And the joy and excitement of discovering what lies underneath that wrapping paper. No matter what our answer may be, it's curious that Christians seem to miss the point of the season entirely. Rarely do we ever hear people wonder at the incarnation of Christ. But that is the true reason for the season. Our text today, John 1, is written to communicate and elicit wonder. This is John's Christmas story, and he takes it far further back than any of the other gospel writers. And this is a dense passage filled with rich truth, but it's tempting to get bogged down in the rich Christology of this passage and miss the point. All of this dense theology was written to communicate and help us marvel at the fact that God became flesh. We must be careful not to lose sight of the forest through the Christmas trees. John wants to give us a glimpse behind the curtain at what happened that first Christmas. And to do this, he starts. In the beginning. For John's Jewish readers, this would have been a very familiar 3 words. This is the exact same way that the Torah, their scriptures, start. In the beginning, God created. But wait a second, John doesn't say that. He quickly makes a left turn. Instead of, in the beginning, God created, he says, in the beginning was the Word. This is interesting. This is already a departure from what was expected. That use of the word, translated word, is actually the Greek word logos. And for both John's Jewish audience and his Greek audience, this word was a loaded term. They were already very familiar with this term logos. For the Jewish audience, this is the word that appears numerous times in the Septuagint, the Greek translation of their Old Testament. In Psalm 33:6, it says, by the word of the Lord the heavens were made. In Psalm 119, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. This idea for the Jewish audience of John was the word of God, wisdom, truth, God's very breathed out word that they could stand on. For his Greek audience, Greek philosophers had been discussing this idea of the Logos for hundreds of years, even before Jesus came. The Greek philosopher Philo said that the Logos was an impersonal divine force that was the expression of divine energies. For Philo, the Logos was a mediator between the eternal and the finite, because in Stoic philosophy, the eternal was pure and the finite was impure, and the two cannot meet, and they needed a mediator. John has these ideas in mind as he's communicating this to us today. He'll take these ideas and he'll build upon them to communicate beautiful truth. He continues, the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Now, this is a radical statement. Entire cults and heresies have arisen because of misunderstanding or rejection of this verse. God, in the Word is both God, but also distinct from God. They're not one and the same. There is a distinction between God the Father and the Word. And the use of the personal pronoun here, he, implies personhood. So, we have the introduction of a second person of the divinity. Not separate from the divinity, but distinct. And by using the phrase in the beginning, he means in eternity past, before anything was created. This is part of where we get the doctrine of the Trinity. 3 persons in one. If John's readers had any doubt about what he was trying to communicate, he continues, the Word created all things, and nothing has been made apart from him. This means that not only that the Word created everything, but that he himself was uncreated. The Word that John is talking about is the eternal God who created all things. This makes what John says next even more heartbreaking. You see, the Word, the light of men, who created all things, came into the world to the very people that he created. And they rejected him. Can you imagine the heartbreak of God in this moment? The very beings that he fashioned, the ones that he knows every single hair on their head, he came to them. And they said, no, we don't want him. But John doesn't leave us in heartbreak for long. He gives his readers hope. He says, all that receive him, that don't reject the Word, are given the right to become children of God. And this is the climax that John has been building towards. The eternal, divine Word of God, who created all things, became flesh and dwelt among his creation to make beloved children out of rebellious sinners. I like the way that Augustine of Hippo clarifies this point in a sermon that he did around this holiday season. He said, man's maker was made man that he, ruler of the stars, might nurse at his mother's breast, that the bread might hunger, that the fountain thirst, that light sleep, that the way be tired on its journey, that the truth might be accused of false witness, the teacher be beaten with whips, the foundation be suspended on wood, that strength might grow weak, that the healer might be wounded, and that life might die, all so that the hungry may have bread, the thirsty a fountain, those asleep a light, that the lost may find the way, the false may live in truth, the fools may astound the wise, the worthless may find their worth, that the weak may be strong, that the wounded may be healed, and that the dead may live again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the magic of Christmas. In the incarnation, the most precious gift ever given was effectively wrapped and placed under the tree for us. As John unveils in the rest of his gospel, this gift is the person Jesus Christ. Like a Christmas gift, he wrapped himself, not in flashy, bright-colored wrapping paper, but in unassuming flesh. Like a gift on Christmas morning, the value of this gift wasn't realized until that wrapping was torn. Now, Christmas may not be a wonderful, joy-filled time for everybody, but it could be. If you never received a gift in your entire life, this gift is still offered to you freely. If you never had anybody to go and see twinkling lights with at night, Jesus is the light that you can see. If you come from a painful family situation that really makes this time hard, or even if you're extremely lonely, this gift comes with a family attached who have all received this gift and will celebrate this gift with you. All you have to do is receive them. If you've never received this gift, I urge you, please don't hesitate a moment longer. This gift did not come to be placed under a tree, but to die on one on your behalf. Yes. He gave himself to rescue you from you. Remember the true wonder of Christmas this season. Marvel at this gift. It could be yours. All you have to do is accept it.